Hey, Hardin County, it's Michelle. It has been a long day. We have a lot to talk about. I'm probably going to break it up into a couple of videos because there's just so much to go over. We had the Mental Health Board come in about their levy. Well, it wasn't really about the levy. It was kind of just an overview of what they have been doing. I don't know that I've been in the office in the last 6 months when they have come in, so I don't know how often they actually do come in and give a report. But they had a real nice paper that they handed out with a lot of numbers in it. So we'll be reviewing that later at another time. And they kind of talked about the overdoses for last year, or hospitalizations, was like 120, and it's down to 81 at this time, and 24. And so they're trending down. They are still having a lot of issues. I think at one point she talks about when fentanyl kind of hit our area that we had more deaths because of it, but not necessarily more hospitalizations. It just had a worse effect. And so one of the things that they really brought up was they have this new Hardin Memorial partnership, and it's where they have kind of their data and I think Medicaid care type money or database, and they have a third party that kind of goes in between. And so when people come in to the hospital for services, either suicide suicide risk, or suicide attempt, or overdose, when they come into the hospital, is they will go through this third party process. And if that person is connected to any other services providers that they are linked to, that provider then gets an automatic notice that they're in their system and that they're in the hospital. And so they've been really excited about this process, so that when people come in, they can then, when they're discharged, they can have support systems with them. And out of the 120, they found out that they only had 5 people who actually had providers elsewhere. And so that's a big concern, because there's 115 people that are coming into the hospital and then going home with no support system officially behind them. And so being able to then send support to that person, or hook them up with different providers as a result of their hospital stay. So that's kind of a new thing that they're working through. And they also talked about having text messages that people can sign up for that will tell you about, I guess, kind of the drug information in Hardin County or in our area. So like if there's fentanyl that's hit our area and it's causing a lot of issues, people can get a text message to say, hey, stay away, or I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thing, but just to alert people. I think she said that they have ways of knowing when there's like a big gap in drug provision, so you think, oh, having a lot of drugs in our town is really bad, but also if it's removed, it's also really bad, because then people go through withdrawal and they have more different types of incidences as a result of that, and so they can kind of be prepared that way. So pretty kind of interesting situation there. They talked about House Bill 318 and the possibility of, because right now the Mental Health Board is mandated to have funding, but House Bill 318, which is not passed yet, just gives verbiage to say that the commissioners have the right to say no to funding, and that if they are not happy with the way things are going, that they can kind of have authority over that budget and that kind of thing. So will it pass? Probably not, but just something to keep an eye on. She also talked about the jail systems. Evidently the multi-county jail, maybe, I'm not sure, but there are medication systems that can be used. So they have an issue with having money to pay for medication, for these mental health medication. There's a lawsuit that has come down from the state, I guess, or it's coming through the state, that we have opioid money, right? But you have to use it for people who are diagnosed with opioid problems. And if I guess they're trying to use that money to pay for this medication. And if they can't do it that way, then maybe the commissioners have to pick it up. And they're looking maybe next year to have a grant money to be able to pay, or it's a state program that will pay for that medication. And somehow that goes then through the jails, so that when people are picked up, are in jail, they can go ahead and get the mental health medication that they need. And, she talked about some jails don't do it. They don't participate in that. And so it'd be kind of interesting to say, and go and talk to some people about, what are the pros and cons of this program, because, handing out medication's not always the best way of doing things, right? So if some people are saying, no, we don't want that program, there's probably a reason why they don't want that program. And so just, that'll be something I put up on the shelf, so that I can go back and when I get an opportunity to talk with some of those people in those areas, then, you ask them, what are the pros and cons, so that kind of what you're getting into. And sometimes when you have programs like that, then it puts more stress on the jail system or the sheriff and police, because of that resource. You just never know what the implications can be. So, but they're working hard to promote that type of program. They talked about transportation with, like, I don't know that they use CATS. They use a different home health aid, or I don't know, some other transportation system for their people and whatnot. And so, so that was just an update from the Mental Health Board. And like I said, they handed out a big paper, and I'll try and go through that and maybe update on some of their numbers of what they have. Actually, I can put it out on the Google Drive. If you guys are familiar with the Hardin County, Ohio Voice, I have a Google Drive that I put all my records requests out there and public information, and you guys can go peruse around there. I got townships, village things, county things, all kinds of stuff that you guys can have access to. So Keith Severns came in again, and of course we had that big fire down at the transfer station during that storm, and he was giving an update on that. He talked about AP was going to bring in a big big substation to replace the one that we had, but then they kind of backed out, and they said, oh, just because it was on fire for that long doesn't mean that it's not usable. Although these, I don't know what you call them, these transformers, or, these units, all the substations, whatever, they are from the 40s, so they have lived a long life, and I'm sure it would have been nice to get new ones. So we'll wait and see if it starts back up. He talked about the EPA came and they were monitoring the smoke that was going around and doing air quality tests. They ended up just letting it burn for a long time to burn up the chemicals that were in there, mostly mineral oil. It had 9,000 gallons of mineral oil, but they feel like it only burned up 3,000 to 4,000, which was good. And it's pretty clean burning, so it didn't have a lot of toxic, repercussions in that way. And so they were grateful for that. And so he talked about that. They talked a little bit about the building that they're redoing for behind the sheriff's station. It was interesting. So if you paid attention to last time Keith Severns came in, he was talking about drones and how drones are a big problem. And here, when this fire was going on, they had a drone that come in, like right in, and they were watching it. They were tracking it coming in, and it come right above those flames and was, watching. They were unable to track it back to where it was coming from, which is kind of interesting, but that it knew right away and it came to investigate. And so, kind of interesting in that respect. It was, let's see, they had the final report for the train crash over in Ridgeway came in, and the bills have been all submitted for that. They have got a final report on the commodities study. So another interesting, the commodities coming in and the chemicals that are moving through the county. They're able to track those and see where the busy intersections are and those kinds of things so that they're aware. They had to do stuff with an insurance billing. We had to get a list of all the buildings in Hardin County for insurance purposes. The commissioners asked if he had a loss control budget available because they want to start their budget process. He said he did not have that, so he'll have to track that down for them. But pretty interesting. It seems like Keith probably has a very interesting and versatile job most of the days. So the next person who came in was Jack from Invernger, who are the, I guess, contractors or builders for the Hardin Solar 1, 2, and 3. So Hardin Project 1 is done and completed. We're to be receiving those funds. Project 2, he come in and said that the final testing is done, the final certifications are in review. If you remember, the commissioners were pretty pushy about getting this information done and packaged and ready to go by the end of the year, so that then they can do the reallocation with the property taxes and get that moved over so that we can get that payment started. I don't know if it's next year or it's 26. It'd still be 26 when that would start, but everything's like a year behind. And so so that's good, and they're starting on the project for Hardin County Solar 3. Now those projects are kind of all one on top of the other, and so the roads, because they're concerned about the road quality, they haven't fixed them. They do repair them, but they don't fix them because they're using the same roads for Solar 1 as Solar 2 and for Solar 3, some of them. So they don't want the expense of fixing the road and then using it again. So they're just going to have to be patient and wait, for that project to be done. He did say that all the heavy traffic and the equipment on their side is all done, so there should be less traffic that way. They talked about the things that they are waiting on is the Roundhead Fire and EMS sign-off, that they have the proper training and equipment to deal with any fires that would be in those solar fields. And then the county engineer's office, a sign-off from them, and then it'll be submitted to the Department of Development for the sign-off certification. So that's what they're waiting to get in December. So a little bit about Invernger. The company that builds it and manages it is Invernger LLC. And so like Solar 1 will be switching over to Invernger Services, which manages the active fields. When I talked to Tim, because we had a little bit of a break, and so I got to talk to him. He's kind of the solar guy. And he said that AEP actually owns those fields, so and the Invernger is just going to manage for them. So it's an interesting thing. I know that solar companies like to transfer ownership multiple times to keep out of certain regulations and certain deadlines. But I do know that these 3 solar projects are being built under the old style. Tim talks about that today, so that they're all the same, which then creates a school bond levy issue where when you have 100 acres that is paying the school bond, right? The school bond is maybe $1 million and it's shared of those 100 acres, and you take out 50 acres of that for the solar fields. They don't pay the school bonds because it's the old way. The new way, they do provide relief for those bonds. So then the other 50 acres of people have to pay the $1 million for the school bond. So, that bond money is going to double for those remaining people, or would be redistributed. And so they have options that they can go back. The school and the people, the townships, I guess, or whoever manages it, will go back and ask Invernger to pay for the bond, right? Like, you guys pay the bond. It happened over at USV, and they only had a year or 2 left of their bond issue, so Invernger just paid it off, no big deal. down here in Bell Center, especially Panther Creek. With Ridgemont, that's not going to be the case. And so if you're in the Ridgemont School District or Ben Logan, and you guys are going to want to be watching this Panther Creek solar project, because it could have a definite impact, not only on your land, but in your taxes. So let's see. I think that was it for Invernger. We had a bid opening for the asphalt resurfacing project. So Luke has gone after a grant. It's a 25-mile township road grant. And I don't know if he's gotten one before. He said he missed it the last time. He's gotten it this time, and he thinks that he's going to be able to get it again in 2031 to get, and it's a $2 million grant to help pay for township roads. And we basically have 20, I thought he said 26, yeah, 26 miles that they're going to resurface. So they had a bid for that. And it's on County Road 175. There's 6 miles, 7 miles on 190, 265 and 209 are going to be resurfaced, and it won't be until spring. The estimate for the project is $3.3 million. The bids came in at 2.6, 2.7, and 2.4, and that was Shelley company, the Shelley company, and so they came in as the lowest, and I'm sure they will get that bid approved, but that'll be Luke. Once they take the bids, it'll go back to Luke for review, and then they'll come back and accept a bid. And so the other thing is we talked about Reed Road and Eldridge Road. So Reed Road, the sewer installation is down there by Roundhead on 39, and it services 14 houses down there. So it's an independent sewer processing plant. And then, so that one I think is done or soon to be done. And then Eldridge Lane Road, which has, I think it's 10 houses on there, is looking at a November installation. They want to get that all done before the end of the year, because it's both of those are paid out of ARPA money. So that's they're $350,000 a piece, so about $700,000 for 24 houses to have brand new shiny sewers. So that's that was kind of the morning of the commissioners meeting. I'm gonna make this part one of the day, and we have a lot more coming up in the afternoon. All right.